Welcome to the I Love Coaching podcast, the show where we help coaches, entrepreneurs, and leaders build businesses that create massive impact. I'm Adam Roach, alongside my incredible co-host,
Jess Webber, and we're here today to bring you the best strategies, mindset shifts, and real-life success stories to help you level up in your coaching journey.
Whether you're launching your coaching business, scaling to 6 or 7 figures, or just looking for inspiration to push through, this podcast is your go-to resource.
We're bringing you expert insights, real talk, and actionable items every single episode. So if you're ready to take your coaching game to the next level,
then let's dive on in. Listeners, here it is. This is going to be the easiest podcast to help you in your space right now because, listen, we all know that you're busy. Though the question is, are you productive? Because most people who are busy are not productive. Jess, I am laying this up for you. This podcast is a layup for you because you have a lot of things going on in this space, though we're going to make this super simple for our listeners today and give them 3 solutions, 3 simple solutions that if they're busy and yet they're not having the productivity that they want to have, let's help them out. And I know that this is your specialty.
I'm so excited for this. This is literally one of my all-time favorite topics. And it's funny because I actually avoid the word productivity because I think there's this negative connotation there, but it's figuring out how to be not efficient, not productive, but effective with the activities that you're taking and that you're doing in your space to move the needle forward on your goals.
Yep. You know, it's I know we've all felt this before. It's the end of the day. We are stressed. We're strained. If you wear a Whoop, it'll tell you how strained you are, which I still don't completely understand. And it's like, okay, well, what did I do today that caused this strain? And if we go back and we say, wow, I did a lot of things, but I didn't move my needle forward. I felt like that before. That's who we're talking to today, as the people that in their day and feel they've done a lot of things, but they haven't moved anything forward, Jess. So let's dive into the solutions. Let's go to number 1. I know you're going to love this one right here.
Well, I think number 1, you have to redefine what productivity looks like for you.
Yeah, you really do. And when you do this, this is just us giving you permission to define the word productivity. What does your definition of productivity look like? I have one, Jess. You have one. Our coaches in our community have their own unique definitions of productivity, but you probably better be measuring your productivity up against something, meaning that if you are starting at an A and you're looking to get to a Z, did you go from A to C today versus just, that 8-hour day is finished?
Right. Well, it's not about doing more, but it's about doing the right things, which is why I said the key for me is not about the word productivity as much as it is effectiveness, because I can be efficient all day long getting things done, but they don't move me from A to B. And so, you know, we have so many people in, whether it's corporate spaces or entrepreneurial spaces or even in parenting, right? Where people will be like you just said, I was so busy today. I did so many things. But if you take a moment to reflect on your calendar or even your task list, and you sit there and you're like, okay, well, I checked off all these things, but I'm nowhere near closer to my goal, then that was an ineffective day. You actually didn't do anything of value in my head. And so it's an important thing. You know, we've talked a lot about in the past defining success. And I think that's really what this is productivity is success and movement or traction, as we've said before, towards your goal.
That's right. You know, here's a silly, simple little example. Amelia had her 15th birthday this weekend. And as we've talked about this. I love gardening. I love planting. Let's rephrase this. I don't love growing fruits and vegetables because I'm not any good at that. I have a lemon tree, an apple tree, a lemon tree, an orange tree, and a lime tree. And I can honestly say in the last 2 years, Jess, I haven't had a single fruit off of any of them.
So you're not saying that you're going to go build a homestead, right?
No, definitely not going to go build a homestead. Though, let's go back to Amelia's birthday party. I could have looked at my outdoor plants that some of them need to be pruned because it's that time of season, especially for my hydrangeas. And I could have gone out and pruned because it would have made the yard look better, right? I could have actually gone out and cleaned the windows, right? Here we are, it's in Charleston, it's hot and humid still. And we wake up and because the air's on and the heat's outside, our windows are always watery, right? There's always condensation. So they get dirty, right? I could have cleaned those. Instead, if I would have done that, I would have felt better. That would have felt good. It had no bearing, though, on Amelia's birthday party. Because her birthday party, guess what? We did a dinner birthday party for her, which meant that she invited 10 of her friends. And I was the chef, and Dana got to be the server. And we served her for her birthday. It's so much fun. Though instead, I went to the butcher and got the chicken. Dana went to the party supply store and got the balloons. And we prepared all this stuff. And again, this is a silly example, but that was a productive, aligned, to-do task list versus me cleaning the windows and pruning my hydrangeas.
I love it. Well, I mean, whether it's personal space like that example or business, we just had an example of this in our own world of, Alex Hermosi just dropped a brand new book, did a live webinar, all these things. And it's very easy to get sucked into, oh my gosh, this is new, this is game changing.
Right.
His entire premise is 100 million offers, 100 million leads, 100 million money models, right? And it's like, that's a very attractive thing. I mean, who doesn't want $100 million, right?
Sure. Right.
And yet what we discovered after we talked about our thoughts around it is that wasn't in alignment with our current trajectory, or to go back to other podcast content, our impossible goal, right? That's not the focus that we need to be in. And so if we were going to sit there and spend all this time on Hermosi type content, then that makes us busy. It doesn't make us productive in our business because it's not in alignment with our top priority or our top goal. And so I think it's a really interesting thing that when you're defining productivity, you also have to define priorities.
Right. Because that's number two, right? If number one is redefine the word productivity, now we're coming into protect your priorities. Because once you have clarity on the right moving parts, now we have to prioritize those right moving parts. Go back to my silly example of the barbecue. I had to prioritize starting the green egg, because the green egg, if y'all have a green egg, it takes a little while to warm up, right? That's a good 15 minutes or so to get the right temperature. And I knew my chicken was probably going to take at least 15 to 20 minutes because I like to cook it a little bit slower. And that had to get done, right? That literally had to get done because that was her choice of the main course. So that was my priority, was that right there. Again, could I have gone and helped Dana? Sure. Could I have hung some balloons or done those types of things? The answer is yes, because that was an alignment, but it wasn't my priority. My priority was being chef to get the chicken ready.
Yeah. And that's such a thing that I think entrepreneurs, parents, people who are juggling a lot.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that's such a man thing to do the grill. That's why I thought you were going.
No, I wasn't going to be gender specific, but I do think it's interesting that I think entrepreneurs and people who are juggling multiple situations in life, so it might be caring for an aging parent, it might be caring for children, but somebody who has more than a fur baby or just a significant other, I feel like we struggle with competing priorities in a personal setting and a work setting.
Yep.
And this is nothing against like a corporate salaried role, but I feel like that is a much more straightforward path, more clinical path. There's a job, defined, there's hours defined, that kind of thing. I feel like when you're owning your own business and you're juggling life and people that, are in your life, you start to feel like your priorities compete. And it is hard at times to say, okay, well, here is my number one priority for the business. Here's my number one priority personally. Here's my number one priority for my relationships. And that's where being reflective and taking space and time and having a calendar matters so much because, and I think we've talked about it before, but if not, it's a big part of what I teach in my master classes and my coaching and things like that, is bookending your day and starting with the personal priorities first of where are you putting your health and your own spiritual walk and all of those things? Where are you putting the relationship with the people that matter to you? And then your work fills to the time allowed outside of those priorities. And so this concept of time blocking or living inside a calendar needs to reflect all of your priorities, not just work.
True. And I want to go back to that word priorities. I really believe that it is a single priority that has a start and an end, and then you move to the next priority. Start and an end, and then you move to the next priority. Because again, if I would have gone away from that grill to do something different to help with another priority that was aligned with productivity, I would have burned that stuff, right? The chicken wouldn't have been any good. And we have tendencies to do that when we try to combine priorities because it doesn't work that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I'm on my walk in the morning, that's my spiritual connection time, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing lunges while I'm going for a walk because that means my thighs would be burning, my butt would be hurting, and my connection to God at that moment in time would not be as strong as it should be, right? So you have to understand that you have a priority. Start it, finish it, move on. Start it, finish it, move on. So you have to know based on, again, what you're looking to accomplish, what is the first and the highest priority of the day, of the hour, of the minute, of the moment, right?
Yes. Well, and the visual that I have in my head that I know I've shared with you of, the impossible goal from Dr. Benjamin Hardy, Science of Scaling. He's got a lot of vertical lines that have different heights and widths and things like that are the visual representation of priorities.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on where you are in your relationship to those horizontally, you're either going to think everything's a priority, or if you've increased your floor, raised your standards and your systems, you're going to recognize that not all priorities are created equal.
Right.
And when you can do that effectively in your business and in your life, then you can say, okay, well, all those things that are, they feel like competing priorities, they're either going to happen along the way to the big one, or they're going to fall away and not be relevant, kind of 80-20 principle situation here of, I really don't need to focus on the 80%. I need to focus on the 20%.
Yep. That's good.
And so it's a fascinating thing when you can kind of, again, step back and almost remove yourself from the situation and be like, okay, what is the big goal? Let's keep that first and foremost in mind. And then what priority singularly and sequentially will move me towards that, and everything else will either happen or not be necessary.
Yep. And here's a cheat code to this, you all. Cheat code, pro tip here, get bored with these. And in the priorities, when it comes to productivity, when it comes to efficiency and effectiveness, you're going to get bored in this space. You're going to. I'm just going to tell you that right now because it's the same soup reheated over and over and over. Though if it is your passion zone, it doesn't, right? If you're in the alignment state of what that is, this repetition in this space is so beneficial, right? Understanding the priority, understanding that moment in time of what you should be doing, it almost becomes mindless, right? We can go to that what is it? The unconscious competent space where it's like, whoa, I'm extremely productive and my day's finished already. Wow. What did I knock out? Because you didn't have to think about it. You just did it and you knew what that process was. Entrepreneurs, Jess, in this space, they get too creative. Entrepreneurs have a tendency to go down a path. Heck, some of my one-on-one coaching clients that are, high net worth individuals, big time CEOs of major companies, I coach them on simplicity of their priority. And it's fascinating because these guys are making high seven figures and they have to text me every single day. The simpleness, if you will, of what is their one priority for the day to knock out and then go do everything else. Stay in this lane and get as simple as possible and know that it's going to be repetitive.
It is. Well, and here's the thing, and it kind of leads us into number 3. There's the phrase, eat the frog first, do the hard thing first, right? So the biggest, most important priority needs to be the first part of your week, the first part of your day, if it's a daily thing. And then you earn the right to get creative after you've completed the priority. And so our third point is create margin in your calendar. It is not about having every moment of every day blocked out for future casting, because life ebbs and flows.
Hold on. Stop there. Just say that again, because there are so many listeners right now that are like, oh my gosh, we need to hurry up and finish this podcast because I need to go to my next thing, right? Say that again. Not every what?
Not every moment of every day needs to be future blocked out.
Love it.
And the reason I say this, and I'm passionate about this, is because I was taught time blocking the wrong way in a salaried position. I was literally told to create my perfect week or my ideal week and batch priorities, but literally had to block out the whole week, every moment that I was on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't allow for fires that come up in the business, which we know they happen, interruptions from other people. You get a phone call, a client needs an emergency session, whatever the thing may be, or, a sick kid happens and you have to adjust your entire day. And then you're sitting there angrily deleting or moving blocks because you future blocked out. And so creating margin and white space in your calendar is like the most underutilized strategy for success that I know exists in this productivity and calendar and priority space.
Yep.
And so, I'm teaching a masterclass live tomorrow and again virtually next week for people literally on this concept of understanding how to take back your time and how to effectively time block in things like Google Tools and Google Tasks to get organized. And it's so funny because every single time I teach this, when I show people a sample calendar and I show them, here's your start time, your personal priorities, here's your end time, your relational priorities, and then you put in your meetings and standing appointments that you have. And then the white space is the space where you do priority number one first, and then everything else follows after.
Mm-hmm.
And you give yourself space to create, space to learn, space to knock out to-dos. It's not like you have to put every to-do in your calendar, but it's not going to be every Tuesday at 2 p.m. I'm working on my to-do list.
Right.
Like, who does that?
Yeah. Well,
nobody. It's not the way life works.
No, it's definitely not. Eating that frog is a great. If you haven't read the book, super simple, super easy. You could probably knock it out in a time block. And just understand that concept. That is, eating the frog is doing the highest priority first.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Because that high priority should be the one thing that helps everything else. And sometimes, if you read the One Thing book, I think Gary Keller and Jay Papasan wrote that, it makes everything easier, either easier or unnecessary. Right?
Exactly.
When you do that number one priority, it makes things easier or unnecessary. And that is when you get to have margin. So let's go back to the top of this podcast. I'm always busy, but never productive, right? I'm always busy and never productive. When you do that one priority, whatever that is, and then maybe you have a second priority on top of that, but you do the first one first, the highest level priority, which makes things easier and sometimes unnecessary. When you get to remove the unnecessary things, guess what you get to do? Whatever you want to, right?
Oh.
Imagine that in a work day, you getting to do what you want to, right? It's so stinking important for you to have that margin in your day, because the next thing you know, you'll wake up and you'll be 65 years old. Your kids will be out of the house. They'll be post-college. You might have grandkids at that time. And and I say this to my kids all the time, Jess, pay now and play later, or play now and pay later. Listeners, if you are missing this, right? If you're missing this, what we're talking about today, you're playing right now and you're going to pay later. Right? And trust me, you don't want to have to play later, because that's when they teach you that you should have time. Have time right now. Have time right now. Imagine that.
It's such a funny thing. I was just at a national conference and people were asking me, how's it going? What are you doing with I Love Coaching? All these things. And being able to tell them that I've built a life where I now run multiple businesses in under 30 hours a week. And sometimes it's as little as like 10 hours. And I'm like, yes, I can sit and read a book. I can sit and watch a webinar. I can sit and play Xbox if I want, take my kid out of school early. Built something because I know how to strategize and prioritize. And I know how to operate a calendar and use time as a tool to make it effective in my world.
Yes.
And telling that to people who were in the space I was in 3+ years ago, working 60 to 80 hours a week and drowning, it sounds, too fantastic to believe, right? They're like, wait, you do what? How do you do that? And it's because I stripped away the busyness and replaced it with priorities. I stripped away the pride in efficiency and I went and nailed effectiveness. And so when you can be a person that can do that, you're going to feel differently. You're going to show up differently. And like Adam said, you're going to pay now, but you can play now too, if you do it the right way.
And I'm going to go into a little promotion. Here's what I mean by that. Not me promoting, but it is coaching, right? If you're listening to this and you have a coach and you feel busy, go back to your coach and tell your coach you feel busy, not productive. And if you tell your coach you want to be more productive, your coach better be able to see your 50,000 foot view and help you remove the things that you shouldn't be doing that are not the priority. That coach should help you with your white space is creating margin, right? And I want to really impress upon the listeners right now, kind of feel like I'm on a soapbox preaching, though I am. And I'm going to say this, Jess, and this isn't going to be nice. Actually, I have a wristband on right now. It's unusual kindness, right? That's what we talked about in church. So I'm being really gentle here with my words.
You're radically candid if you're a Kim Scott fan.
Perfect. And I'll be radically candid right now. If you are busy and not productive, fire your coach. If you have a coach that is not helping you in that space, see the difference between busyness and productive. See the difference between full calendar and margin calendar. Go challenge your coach to help you create that. And if they can't help you do that, fire them, because they are not the right fit for you. And I am on a soapbox right now because I've seen so many, Jess, I'm being really nice and kind right now. I've seen so many bad coaches. It just drives me crazy when we see someone who says I'm in coaching and yet they have no margin in their life to live. And it's just like, because you're doing the wrong things. And that should be pointed out. So, sorry, I'm going to get off my soapbox.
Well, no, I think it's a perfect thing to say, because I'm sitting here thinking about past coaching experiences where I dreaded showing up to the coaching call because I felt like it was a waste of my time, because I felt like I didn't have enough time because I was so busy. Right. And that coach wasn't helping reduce that feeling. And yet I've been in other coaching spaces where I could not wait to show up to that call because I felt like every call was a new epiphany. It was a new strategy. It was a new something to help me move the needle on my priorities and get closer to my goal that much faster. And so I do think it's a good lens for any relationship, coaching or otherwise. Is that person adding or detracting from your goal? And looking at that is so important, whether it's an employer, whether it's a coach, whomever. I think you have to filter life through that and say, what do I really want that is bigger than myself?
Right.
And that was another massive, interesting thing the last couple of weeks that I've gone through and talking to people is, if you are drowning in busyness, you probably don't have a big vision that's pulling you forward and driving you. And that's part of the reason you feel like you're drowning, is because you're only anchored to yourself. And you can't tread water for the rest of your life. You got to have something bigger. You got to try to get to the, cruise ship, since we're using water analogies, get to the island, whatever it is. But you can't rely on yourself to carry you forever and always. You got to have something bigger than you. And so if you are constantly feeling busy, constantly feeling drained, feeling like the people in your world are adding to that, then you're not in the right spot.
I want to add one quick story here, and then you land the plane. Okay. And I'm going to throw this in because this aligns so well, is, are you doing things or are you achieving? Right? Big difference. Doing and achieving. And I'm going to stay on my coach soapbox, because here's the thing. For years, I had a tracking tool, and it was a journal, and I used to track the number of days that I went to the gym. And gosh, Jess, I would lay that on anything that I was doing the right things, right? I had a goal of going to the gym 250 times. I'd come home. Today was day 25 out of 250. Today was day 130 out of 250. And I would track to see where I was. And gosh, last year I hit 280 out of 250. And I'm thinking, I'm king of the world, right? And it wasn't until I hired the right coach to realize, and he never said this, but I realized it, that tracking was doing. I was going to the gym. I was doing the gym. I wasn't achieving in the gym. And hiring someone specifically in that space to put me in the achievement space so that I would do the right things to achieve the outcome that I wanted. I don't track going to the gym anymore. Why? Because the gym is hard now. The gym is hard. I'm actually having to do things in the gym now per Alan, who lives in Canada, which is 3 plane rides away from Charleston, and I'm still staying accountable to it. Why? Because as Jess said, I'm attached to this bigger vision. And let's go back to this April of 24, Jess. I was 196 and about a 21% body fat. That was good for a 47-year-old man, right? And now, because I'm achieving in that space, because I have the right coach, because he's helping me prioritize certain things and keeping a high priority on one thing, that is food and exercise. 74 is where I was 2 Fridays ago, and 11% body fat. I haven't checked it since. But that's 1 year into it. Look at the difference. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to the gym because I stopped tracking it because I was just doing it. Now I'm achieving. So take that story, measure it up against your world, and where are you achieving, right? Where are you really achieving?
I love that. I love that so much.
We love you, Alan.
And yeah, he's okay.
He is okay.
No, but I think it's just such a great example of what we should be doing regularly in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So, whether it's a health space, whether it's a business space, and you feel like you're drowning in the work and you're not actually achieving any goals in your, business or in the business of somebody else, if you're an employee, then maybe it's an opportunity for you to make a change there. But again, you have to have a vision bigger than yourself. You have to do something. And because as our friend John Maxwell says, it's about significance, not success. Mm-hmm. So it's about achieving and helping and pouring into other people or creating some space that's bigger than yourself. And the success follows right behind it. And so if that's something that you might be interested in exploring, but you're struggling with, Adam and I are actually running another 10K challenge in September. And we would love for you to join us. So we actually walk through that process of figuring out what you want and helping you define it and then create opportunity around it. And strategizing about the one thing you need to do to get it done so you get out of your own way.
Yep.
So if you're interested in learning more, it's ilovecoachingco.com/challenge, or you can go to our website and all the details are there.
Yep. It's truly one of my favorite things to host for everybody is because it creates clarity. And that ultimately is what this is all about, is creating clarity, creating the path, and creating the payoff. That's what you want. Yep, that's what you want. All right, Jess, anyway else you want to land the plane? Because that was a good one right there.
I mean, that was a good one. If anybody wants to join my masterclass because this resonated, you're also welcome to do that. My name, Jess Webber, SS, tell people I'm full of BS. So jesswebber.com/masterclass, all the details are there as well.
Perfect.
But truly, friends, this is our love letter to you because we've lived it. And now we're on the other side of it. And we truly want you to have an incredible life by design where you're not overwhelmed by busyness. You're not always busy and you can be productive in your space.
Yep. Very good. All right, everybody. We trust that landed for you and resonated with you. Go sign up for our challenge, ilovecoachingco.com/challenge. And Jess Webber, what was it?
JessWebber.com/masterclass.
Masterclass. There it is. Okay. Go register. All right, everybody. Thank you. We'll see you next time. See you. Bye.